I like to look at the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups for every tournament that is being played every week, because it gives us a good starting point when it comes to where to build our lineups, how to build our lineups. And when it comes to this week's US Open, I kind of touched upon this during the DraftKings first look. It's what do we do with Scottie Scheffler? And I understand every single time I create one of these videos, that is the question. What do we do with Scottie Scheffler? Unfortunately, that has to be the conversation, because we have seen Scottie Scheffler in successful GPP winning lineups. Like, just to show you right away, last year's US Open, the GPP winner had Scottie Scheffler in it, and Scottie didn't even win the event. Scottie finished 7th place. He finished 7th, and he was in the GPP winning lineup, the one that won $1 million. The only way that can happen, and I said this in the first look, is if you have 6K golfers that perform well, or even 5K golfers, which we have this week. These low-priced golfers need to play well in order for a Scottie Scheffler to pay off his price tag. So that is where I'm going to start this conversation with. What do we do with Scottie Scheffler? If we do build Scottie Scheffler lineups, what's the most common lineup build? And here's the beautiful thing. I got a real easy way for you guys to figure this out. Go to fantasy tools at SweetSpotDFS.com. By the way, there's a link for the website down in the description. Go click on it. Under fantasy tools, historic salary builds is where you want to be. This little crosshair here has a few different filter options in here. I would just recommend, let's look at any time Scottie Scheffler was in the field. And the easiest way to do that is in this little minimum field under salaries, just put in $13,000. This is the easiest way to do it. $13,000. This is going to filter out any time that Scottie Scheffler was in the field at $13,000 and above. And one, going further just a little bit, let's get rid of the Tour Championship, because then that'll get rid of any golfer that was like 15,000 and above. If you remember when there were starting strokes, salaries were ridiculous. So let's get rid of that. And now we're kind of left here. So anytime Scottie Scheffler's been in the field, your most common salary build is a 10-8, 2-7s, 2-6s, followed by a 10-9-8, 7-7-6, and then a 9-9-8, 7-7-6. If you've been to this channel before, I preach the 10-9-8, 7-7-6 approach. Start there, and then you can make your substitutions, whatever you see fit. And you kind of, no, we do have more than the 2 substitutions I was thinking of for this one. Don't mind me. Okay, so now we've filtered out all of the events that Scottie Scheffler's been in when he was 13,000 or more. Well, has he been in a lot of these winning tournaments? Here's where I would say go into the crosshairs yet again, and down here, highest price golfer. This is I record 3 different lineups: the GPP winning lineup, the optimal lineup, and the sweet spot optimal. Those 3 lineups I record every single week for every single event, and then I paste, or I put in my database what type of salary build they were. 10-9-8, 7-7-6, 10-8-8, 7-7-6, 9-9-8, whatever it ends up being, I record that, and that way we can analyze every single week what type of lineup build works. I know some people are kind of, skeptical when it comes to salaries, but salaries are a power ranking. Everyone knows that. DraftKings puts the most expensive golfer as they put the best golfer as the most expensive golfer for obvious reasons. And they put the worst golfer at the lowest price for obvious reasons. So why not analyze the salary structures that work every single week? So when it comes down to Scottie Scheffler lineups, 1, you can just look at it this way, or 2, I would drill into here, come down to the highest price golfer. And again, those 3 lineups that I record every single week, if any of them have a $13,000 and up golfer, it will now show, it'll filter out the other ones that do not have basically Scottie Scheffler in the winning lineup. And if we look, 2026 Memorial Tournament had Scottie Scheffler in it at $13,500. And then the minimum salary was $6,600. This is what I want you guys to pay attention to when looking at this type of research is, all right, what was Scottie's salary first and foremost? And then what was the cheapest golfer in that lineup? Like, what was the price tag for it? So you can look at it this way. So 2026 Memorial Tournament. Now, I've got two tools to look at. You got the historic salary builds and you got the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. Well, let's go to the Memorial. And I know we're at the US Open and we should be looking at US Open stuff, but the thing is, this is a whole conversation in its own. And it's worth mentioning because you are going to have to make that decision to play Scottie or not to play Scottie. So 2026, Sweet Spot Optimal and GPP winner. So if I drill down in GPP winner and we go to the 2026 Memorial Tournament, look at that. Scottie Scheffler finished 12th place. 12th. Most people say when he's this expensive, if he doesn't finish inside the top 5, he won't pay off his price tag. That ain't true. That's not true. The new conversation that needs to happen is Scottie Scheffler won't pay off his price tag if, one, he doesn't win, and there has to be low-priced golfers, like in the 6K range or low 7K range, that have to occupy at least 2 top 5 positions. He needs to have 2 guys, $7,100 or $7,200 and lower inside the top 5 in order for him to pay off his price tag. Now, that's just me kind of guesstimating, but I've looked at this enough. I'm fairly confident that that's what you need, because even this one finished 12th. JT Poston was $6,600 and won the event. Ryan Gerard was $6,900 and finished 2nd. Christopher Wrighton was $6,900 and finished 6th. And then you had a $7,000 golfer in Keegan Bradley, which not great, but still got the job done. If we went to the Sweet Spot Optimal, which scored, what was that, 13 more points? 12 more points than the GPP winner, you can see Scottie at 13.5, those 6K golfers here, and then a $7,300 golfer. So I guess I should say $7,300 and lower. You need 3 of them to finish inside the top 5, or 2 of, at least 2, but probably 3. So that's just the Memorial Tournament for a Scottie Scheffler lineup. And that was a 10-8, 7, 3 6s. We can look at some of these other contests. Let's just do this. Let's go to the US Open from last year. I know that's one of them. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'll type in US Open and 2025 GPP winner. Here you go again. Scottie Scheffler finished 7th place, and he was in the GPP winning lineup. But that required to have a first place JJ Spawn at $6,700 and a second place Bobby Mack at $6,700. And then Sam Burns was 7th and was $7,100. 3 golfers, but Sam Burns was only 7th. He didn't finish 5th place or better. As I was saying, you need 3 guys, $7,300 and cheaper to occupy 3 spots inside the top 5. That obviously didn't happen here, but it was 7, top 7. So this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm thinking about when it comes to building lineups. I literally think you need to have Scottie with 3 golfers, $7,100 and lower. If not 4 golfers, not 71, $7,300 and lower. If not 4 golfers, $7,300 and lower. And then you just mix and match, or you just figure out what that next salary point is that you want to add with Scottie. So that's my advice. Again, you can go and check out all the lineups that were successful. You can even see the minimum salary that goes along with those Scottie Scheffler lineups. And again, the most common one is a 10-8, 2 7s, 2 6s, 10-8, 7, 3 6s. I mean, then it goes down to 2 records for each. So it gets pretty low, but the most common lineup build is a 10-8, 2 7s, 2 6s. Now, I'm going to mention this right now. This is going to be kind of confusing to some extent, because some of these lineups include 5K golfers, but it doesn't show that they're 5K golfers. That is because I do a price conversion. I mentioned this during the DraftKings first look, but I'll mention it here as well. When DraftKings creates a 5K range, I immediately try to, what's the word I want to look at? Let's put it this way. I convert all of these salaries to be more traditional under DraftKings salary rules. You know, it wasn't until Scottie Scheffler became the best golfer in the world and was winning 8 events every single year before they finally put him to a $13,000 price tag. And with that, they're like, well, in order to make, you know, our casual players happy, we need to drop the bottom down even further. So we got to go from the 6K range down to the 5K range. Well, when it comes to analyzing salary builds and just analyzing salaries altogether, this puts a huge wrench into that analysis. Why would we even be looking at this kind of stuff? It makes things worse. So I convert these salaries to 6K range. So just to show you the thresholds, this low 6K range starts at $5,400. I treat that as a $6,400 golfer. So that means any $5,500 golfer, I treat as a $6,500 golfer. And if I scroll up, you can see where the next threshold is. This is the high 6K range. It starts at $6,200, or I should say, yeah, it starts at 62 and then it goes down. So 62, I'm treating that as a $6,900 golfer. The 7K range starts in this at $6,300. So I know that might be confusing, and maybe you don't want to keep track of that. I have an optimizer that just does that for us. So if you're interested in that, go request one. You can find that under Fantasy Tools under Optimizer. I send them out Tuesday after I get tee times. So I need to get tee times from the US Open before I'll send out the Optimizer, but the Optimizer will have all that information in it. So you don't even have to think about it. You can just put in your favorite golfers, lock in your favorite golfers, and then the Optimizer will build you a lineup that follows all those rules when it comes to the salaries. So yeah, just be on the lookout for 5K golfers. And again, these lineups down here are just the recorded lineups that I obviously have recorded, that I've kept track of, and try to figure out, you know, not so much figure out. I record them, put the minimum salary. You can only see one of them. The Open Championship last year had a $5,700 golfer in it. That was the optimal lineup. So go take a look. Use both of the tools I have, historic salary builds and past optimal and GPP winning lineups, to try to figure out what kind of lineup best suits you or your lineup building needs this week. Now, really quickly, going back to the whole to play Scottie Scheffler or not to play Scottie Scheffler, with those filters already in place. Remember, this salary up here, $13,000 to $15,500. Highest price golfer, if we bring this back down to the low end, and then we actually take that ceiling away and we put this down to say 12,000. Now, what you're going to find out is all of the lineups all of the tournaments that Scottie Scheffler was in that was 13,000 and above. These are the lineups that were successful without Scottie Scheffler. And again, you can see the max salaries right here. So this is the way you do it. Again, come in here. This salary filter up here is going to show all of the events. It's not so much going to show, but it's going to filter down by all the events that Scottie Scheffler was in at $13,000 and above. So this is the filter up here that you want to use. And then depending on if you want to play Scottie Scheffler or not, you change this bar down here. This bar that I'm moving down here. You change this one. So if you don't want to play Scottie Scheffler, just change it to say 12,000 for the max. So 75 to 12,000. And then this little summary up here will tell you what are the most common successful lineup builds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. I could have told you that. All the followers of SweetSpotDFS could have told you that. 18% of your lineups that have a Scotty Scheffler in the field. I shouldn't even say it that way. When Scotty Scheffler is in the field, but he is not a part of one of the successful lineups, your most common lineup build at 18% is 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6, followed by 9, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. Those together are 34% of the successful lineups that Scotty Scheffler, or when Scotty Scheffler's in the field. And they're without Scotty, obviously. So you can drill into these. 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6, 2026 PGA Championship, Sweet Spot Optimal. So I go here, 2026. Go ahead, put in PGA Championship, and we want Sweet Spot Optimal. So you can just filter on all down all of these. Look at this. 10-4 John Rahm, second place. $9,800 Ludwig. $9,400 Justin Thomas. Remember what I said. There's a 5K range, right? 5K range. So Justin Thomas, when we converted his price, was actually an $8,900 golfer. So it was 10, 9, 8. Harris English, 7,200. Aaron Rise, 67. They're both considered 7K golfers, despite one is actually a $7,200 golfer and the other one is a $6,700 golfer. And then Alex Smalley at $6,100. He would have been a 6K golfer. He was under that threshold. So you guys can go ahead and do your own research on all of this. I actually recommend it. If you are building a Scotty lineup, remember, I think going 10, 8, 7, 3, 6 is the best way to go. Or if you're going without Scotty, 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 or 9, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 is the way to go. And again, follow the Sweet Spot process. Join me Tuesday night where I'll talk about all of this. If you got any questions, I can answer them for you. I'll be building lineups using the optimizer that follows all of that stuff. So go check it out there. I would go through every US Open optimal lineup, every US Open GPP winning lineup, and every Sweet Spot optimal. But here's the thing. Scotty Scheffler and DraftKings, once Scotty won 8 events every single year, DraftKings started to price his salaries up more and more and more. So last year he won 8 events. The year before, I think he won 7 or 6. This year, they've not had him cheaper than $13,000. And when that's the case, especially with these major championships, like the 5K range comes into play. They're almost unplayable, but the 6K range ends up being very playable because that's like your old 7K range. And when it comes to thinking about building lineups with Scotty, no. I'm sorry. I lost track of what I was saying. Here's what I'm really trying to get at. We have to talk about Scotty. It has to be done. He's just a generational golfer that is going to affect your lineups, either for the good or for the worse. If Scotty wasn't in the field and we had traditional salaries, then we go through the whole thing. I would tell you, all right, those past US Opens, and actually, let me just show you this. So I'll go ahead and put in US Open. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but here's what I'm getting at. What do we have for filters? Well, I'm gonna hit the eraser button. Go ahead, click US Open. We'll go 2025. And then, so here, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to sort it out and we're going to go year by year. So last year, Scotty Scheffler was 14,400. In 2024, Scotty Scheffler was 13,000. We go to 2023, he was only 11,400. That's more common. So literally, the last 2 years is when DraftKings really changed things up. And quite frankly, this year is even more different than previous years because In previous years, Scottie Scheffler, so let's say 2024, he's $13,000 at the US Open. In all the other events he was playing, like the Charles Schwab Challenge, the Byron Nelson, he was only like $12,000. And then there wasn't a 5K range. Sometimes there was, but most of the time there wasn't. Then you get into 2025 and he becomes $14,000 only during the major championships. Now in 2026, I'll take out the US Open and you can see all of Scottie Scheffler's price tags. 14.8 at the CJ Cup, 14.5 at WM Phoenix Open, 14.3 at the Genesis, 14.2 at the Players, 14.2 at the American Express, 14.1 at Arnold Palmer, 14,000 at Masters. So yes, we have to talk about Scottie Scheffler. You have to. Look at these. It's all Scottie up here. 13.5 was his cheapest price tag this year. And this was after he kind of was, a little bit in a slump. $13,500. That's the cheapest. When you go back and you look at the other major championships in 25-24, you'll see that these are more expensive than those events. So, yeah, I know. Scottie he takes over. He takes over the entire betting podcasts, all the DFS stuff, and for good reason. Because you have to make a decision if you're going to play him or if you're not. And if you don't, the salaries are so jacked up. How do you know what to do? You have to figure it out. And that's why looking at tools like this should be able to help you out. One thing I'll say about this page right here, here's a fast way to look at Scottie Scheffler lineups. Go in here, just like I was showing you before, type in $13,000. This will show whenever Scottie Scheffler was in the field. And then it is currently sorted by events, most recent to later on. The boxes over here to the right above my head, you can see there's DK Optimal, GPP Winner, and Sweet Spot Optimal. Those are the 3 lineups that I record. If there's a 1 in any of these cells, any of these fields, that means he was a part of that lineup. So the ones that he isn't, those are the ones that maybe you should pay attention to. So CJ Cup Byron Nelson in 2026, none of them. None of them for the PGA Championship, none of them for the Cadillac Championship, none of them for the RBC Heritage, none of them for Masters, none of them for Players, none of them for Arnold Palmer, none of them for Genesis. And you can see all of his price tags. So I would go and look at each one of these events under the historic salary builds. Again, put in your tournament. I mean, Arnold Palmer Invitational was one of them, right? 2026. So you look at all of these, $9,600 was the max salary. $6,800 was the minimum salary. And you can see what kind of lineups they were, what kind of lineup builds they are. 998, 776, easy peasy. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. I understand. Scottie Scheffler just takes control. He, I guess at least I'm letting him, I suppose, and that's fine because he's the best golfer in the world. And when salaries are like this, we have to make some decisions. Got to make some decisions. It gets weird. So that's all that I have. I'm going to bring this up. We're going to talk about some giveaways really quickly that I am running. I have this one, Win the Pot. Subscribe. If you're a new subscriber, you'll add $2 to the pot. If you want to gain an entry, comment down below. All of the US Open content that I'm doing, if you comment on any of them, you get 1 free entry into these giveaways, and it only takes 1 to win. So yeah, if you're a new subscriber, please, or I should say, if you're a new viewer, please subscribe because you will add money to this pot and then also, participate and you'll get entries. That ends up going into another giveaway that I'll quickly show. It's a $1,000 giveaway that I'm doing. Once this channel hits 1,000 subscribers, I'm running this giveaway. If you want to check out more giveaways, go check out the description down below. I have a video that explains all of the giveaways that I'm doing and how to gain entries into them. But I'm going to leave you here. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.